Imagine you're at a social event. It could be in person or virtual. When someone at that event inevitably asks you, "So, what do you do?" Just take a moment to think about how you would answer that question. Now, I imagine a lot of you would have answered with what's written on your business cards, and that's not surprising, nor is it wrong. For most of us, this question is asked and answered on autopilot, and is typically interpreted to mean, "What do you do for a living?" But that's just one part of how we're living as human beings. And the way we answer that familiar question, "What do you do?" will be shaping our experience of ourselves and the story of our life. Every time we're asked that question is an opportunity to tell our story. Now, I'm sure all of you do lots of different things. You might play golf at the weekends, volunteer for a local charity, run a book club, organise wine tastings. We all have many strings to our bows. We're not just one thing. So in this day and age, how should we answer this question honestly and authentically? Say, for example, you're an accountant. That's how you make your money, pay your mortgage, and look after your family. But what if you also make wedding cakes on the side? Which one is true? At what point do you feel it's okay to tell the story of, "I'm a baker. I design and create bespoke cakes for weddings"? How much time do we need to be spending on an activity, or how much money do we need to be making from that activity for that to be the truth? The point is that both things can be true. All of these selves are us. We're not just one thing. Yet when we're asked the "what do you do" question, people are typically expecting one answer, one story that shapes their understanding of who we are, what we do, and puts us in a box. A box that profoundly affects our identity and sense of self. And of course, there are times when we all want to be taken seriously, so the temptation can be to answer in a way that says, "I'm important." But is what you're saying important to you? If you're happy answering with your job title, that's fantastic. Honor that and own that. But if you find yourself in a situation where you'd rather be talking about a different part of yourself, a part that speaks to more of who you are as a unique human being, becoming conscious of your automatic answers will give you more choice. We're told not to judge a book by its cover, yet so many of us judge and then define ourselves and each other by these titles. I started my career as an actress, and whilst I was good at telling stories on stage and screen, I wasn't very good at telling my own life story, particularly with regards to the "what do you do" question. Because like a lot of actors, I did do a lot of different things. I remember one time being really nervous about going to my then boyfriend's family party. We'd only recently met and I was eager to make a good first impression. But it had been months since I'd had a decent audition, let alone a noteworthy acting role. So I was struggling to own that I'm an actor identity because I wasn't doing all that much of it, nor was it paying my bills. Instead, I'd been making money through nighttime shifts at a packing factory so I could still go to the occasional audition or acting class during the day. Before the party, I shared my anxiety with my acting coach, Philippa. She threw it back at me. "Well, what do you do, Katie? What are you doing at the moment that you're really enjoying?" I paused to think about this. "Well, I've been doing a bit of stand-up comedy around London, but I'm not paid, I'm not professional, and I'm probably not any good." She looked at me for a long moment. "But they didn't ask you if you were paid, professional, or good. They asked you, what do you do? And right now, stand-up comedy is something you're doing and enjoying. So talk about that." I was skeptical. I mean, did I really want to imply to my new boyfriend's family that I was a stand-up comedian? This was never going to go well. Fast forward to the party. I've barely taken off my coat before someone pops the question, "What do I do?" Well, I didn't want to talk about the factory or my fledgling acting career, so I dived in the deep end and followed Philippa's advice. "I do stand-up comedy." No way, that's amazing. I've always been in awe of people who do stand-up. Do you find it scary? Before long, a little crowd had gathered around, keen to hear about my experiences in the world of stand-up. And I realised that they didn't care if I was paid, professional or good. They were interested in me as a human being. That was the day I recognised the power of storytelling in everyday life. There are a number of ways we can all answer the what do you do question, and the way we answer it can completely transform our experience of ourselves and the story we end up living. Here's the thing about story. It creates our experience. It comes first. We often wait for our lives to happen in order to tell the story, but actually the stories we're telling ourselves now create our lives. So this isn't just for storytellers in the traditional sense. This is for everyone, whether you're a bus driver or a banker, retired or unemployed, young or old. You can start answering the what do you do question in a way that will bring more of who you are and who you want to be into your life. We can choose how we show up in our answer to that question. So, whilst I thought I wanted to tell people at the party that I was an actor, what was at the core of that dream was something so simple, a desire to tell stories. And that's what I was doing with stand-up comedy, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm telling my story. And when I look back, I can see that storytelling is the thread that connects many things I do and have done in my life. It's shown up in many different ways and under many different job titles. I write articles, I host a podcast, I sing in a choir. And as a coach, I help people to take charge of the narratives that they're putting out into the world. I am a storyteller, and that's something I can own and live from in lots of different ways. It's not confined by the tangibles of a certain job title, description, or salary. First and foremost, it's who I am. It's how I'm choosing to show up in the world. And that ultimately informs what I do and how I live. I remember walking into that party feeling embarrassed and slightly ashamed that I was struggling to answer that question. But now I can see that that moment was a gift, because it helped me to appreciate the many other parts of my life. Instead of defining myself by a simple, straightforward job title, I was forced to step back and see the bigger picture. Just as actors step into many different characters, in our everyday lives, we also step into a variety of roles professionally and personally. And the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic this year has been such a wake-up call to this. So I was originally supposed to give this talk in April 2020, but like so many conferences, weddings, sporting events and holidays, it was put on hold. And many of us found ourselves living under lockdown regulations. What we did and what we were planning on doing in 2020 suddenly looked really different. For some, jobs and responsibilities were stripped away, and for others, roles began to overlap. The lines blurred between father, manager, and now suddenly homeschool teacher. We could no longer divide our identities so easily when the geography that separates work from school or the gyms from our homes no longer applied. And it became impossible to ignore the fact that we're not just our job titles. We do lots of different things. And what we do and how we do it is continually changing. Yet, when it comes to the what do you do question, we're so often expected to have a fixed, financially focused answer, and if not, made to feel like what we're doing and who we're being isn't enough. Which I believe is a disservice to our humanity, because some of the most interesting and important parts of our lives sit outside of our job titles, like raising the next generation of human beings, celebrating with friends, or falling in love. As a parent, a partner, or a friend, what you do becomes bigger than just you. So, yes, whilst you are the leading role in your life, Never forget that you're surrounded by a cast of characters, family, friends, colleagues, your community, all people who inform and shape the story of you. You're never standing on stage alone. Now, a common misconception about acting is that it's about placing a character on top of who you are. Yet in reality, what really good actors do is they stretch into a different part of themselves. And as human beings, we can and we do the same. We can choose to dial up or dial down certain parts of ourselves that will best serve us in any given situation. We have so much more range than we often realize. Which is why for me, fully stepping into this character, Katie, and embracing its breadth and diversity is by far the most fulfilling and freeing part I've had the privilege to play. There's a lot going on in this one-woman show, and what I do for a job, that's one part of me. And it certainly doesn't have to define who I am as a person and who I am becoming. Your answer only offers a tiny snapshot of who you are, one of the many complex and contradictory plot lines in the story of your life. So the next time you're asked the "what do you do" question, I challenge you to change the game. Break through your autopilot responses and breathe life into your answer by switching your focus from what you do to who you want to be in the world. What makes your heart sing, gets you out of bed in the morning, gives you a sense of belonging and meaning. After all, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And who we are is so much bigger and better than what's written on our business cards. Thank you.